Good morning and welcome to another simple truth. Last episode I left you with this thought. Are you teachable? It matters if you are teachable or if you're not, because this Christian life, this thing that we call the Christian life, is all about learning and then applying. But it's also just as important as to where you're getting your teaching from. Are you getting it from teachers who are turning your attention to the Bible, or are they doing the work and interpreting the Bible and you're actually getting the truth, which is interpretation of the truth? That matters. And Jesus gave us firsthand truth of what it is to be in heaven, what it is to be a part of the kingdom. And he looked at the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the teachers of the law, the people who were supposed to be teaching, the people who were supposed to be being shepherds and shepherding his people. He looked at them and he said some pretty tough things. He said, listen, you should pay attention to what they're saying. You should do what they're saying, but do not do what they're doing. If we're not careful, we can get caught up in that. We start looking at people who are teaching, and we look at what they're doing, and we just assume that it must be okay. And Jesus points out that, sometimes those things don't match up. The only way that you're going to know that, if the teacher and the teaching matches up, is if it's in the Bible. Now, listen, we live in a world where when a teacher makes a mistake, when a teacher says something wrong, that we immediately want to throw away everything that he's taught. And I want you to understand that Jesus said that you should do what they say, just don't do what they do. Part of good teaching is always learning. Part of good teaching is being teachable, that their ideas, their thoughts are constantly evolving. They're constantly changing. Why? Because we're learning more and more about Jesus, and things that we thought were okay over here, well, they're all of a sudden we realize that, maybe it's not that way. That we're open to new ideas. We're open to actually learning. And that's what Jesus was doing. Jesus was teaching the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and the teachers of the law. But what wasn't happening? They weren't teachable. They weren't willing to learn. They thought that their interpretation was the right way. And their interpretation was the only way. And you know what? Sadly, we have those things happening today as well. Some of our teachers think that their way is the only way, that their way is the right way. We keep inviting you to join us as part of Drash Ministries as we strive to learn, as we kind of fight this thing out in our heads and in our hearts. What does it really mean to be a Christian? You and I, we need help in that area. There are some go-to people that I have as teachers, people that I look to help open up the Word, to help explain the Word to me. I don't have it all, and I certainly don't apply it all well. There have been some major mistakes in my life where the teaching and the walk just didn't match up. But God says that part of being a good teacher is that you're willing to take ownership of those mistakes and move forward. That you're willing to keep learning, willing to admit that you need to keep learning. So let me leave you with this on this episode of Simple Truth. Are you teachable? And have you found the right teachers?